Hi Marian, how you doing today?
I'm really good. We've got some sunshine in Ireland, so that's like the start of a miracle for us because it has been quite cold, but when we get any kind of sunshine here, it's just so amazing. So I'm chilling, really
That's
chilling.
great. Look, very nice and relaxed there, and you've got that beautiful background there. It's just very nice day at the back there. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're an extremely busy girl with radio and TV, and helping everybody, especially in your islands. So I do appreciate your time. So my first question, just like with everybody, all of my guests on the show is, how are you doing in the pandemic? Are your family staying safe? And what have you done in this period? Did you have to cancel anything? Tell us about it.
Okay, so in a weird way, I have to say that the adjustment sort of was a big mental shift for me, apart from the physical shift, because I was so busy. Literally, I realized I saved a fortune on diesel. Honestly, because that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh my
Yes.
God, I have more money than I usually do. And then I
Yes.
figured it out. I wasn't driving everywhere. And also, it was such a blessing to have that time. I know it was very difficult for a lot of people, but for me, I have three little children under 15.
All right.
And I just realized that the connections that we made over that time, and it's ongoing. Obviously, they're back to school now, but I had to look at the positive side of it and say, okay, keep this where they know that they're safe. Make sure that they know that there's always obstacles in life and there will always be things. But we're very lucky because when it kicked off here in Ireland, it was in such a balanced way that, I mean, as a nation, we're used to kind of trouble hitting us and getting over it.
Yes.
For me, the biggest thing was getting out to do shopping and making sure there
Right.
was enough food. That was the big
Yes.
thing. Children, they're constantly hungry as well, but also
Yes.
there was a sort of a bulk buy situation in Ireland initially.
Yes.
And then people just kind of leveled off because there's a big dose of cop on that happens with us here. And also my parents now, they're in the 70s. So I ended up shopping for them
Oh,
as well. And then it was kind of, everybody was all in it together. And I was doing random things like on the way back through the security checkpoints for the Gardaí, I'd pick up about 10 coffees with milk and sugars and just say, thank you so much for keeping it balanced. And they were so delighted. And it was, we all kind of came together, and I think that's one of the things that I recognize is that we'd been so busy, and I certainly was, and I thought I was connected to people, but in slowing down, I was able to be more of myself and more generous and more loving and kind,
yes.
and I thought I was doing that anyway, but it was in a very different way. And also, I have a daughter who's just turned 15,
All
and we
right.
just the connection is amazing because I was like in the morning I was dropping her to school. It was like a 6 o'clock start. I'd see her in the evenings and then she'd do her homework for 3 4 hours, and it was on this Ferris wheel of the repetition of children, school, work, homework, food, and it came along and we had to stop. And
Yes.
I'm so blessed. I know in regard to cancelling things, I moved things around. I moved them onto an online level. And the things that had to be cancelled that were, I suppose school was a big thing. That was a massive
Yes.
thing. So I didn't really push them. I have to be honest. I realized that there was enough stress on them. And for them to experience life, it was like the best thing that could have happened to them is having a bit of reduced stress in a very stressful time. So we did learn as we went, but to be quite honest, there wasn't anything major that was there that was more important than the health and the well-being of us as individuals. And that's the one thing I have to say was a massive priority shift for, I think, not just me but everybody around. I
Yes.
thought I was focused. I thought I had my priorities really in check, but this has really made us focus on the basic things like,
Yes.
okay, is everybody okay? And I was laughing because I saw people that I didn't know had other skill sets suddenly developing these other skill sets online, and I was going, I didn't know you could cook. I didn't know you were an artist, you know. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, I can only look at life and say, there are worse situations. Thank God we weren't in a different country where it was a lot worse. And my heart goes out to everybody who has suffered and lost, and it was heartbreaking. But I always have this belief system that you got to keep going. You got
Yes.
to stay as positive as you can. And the bottom line is, I couldn't have been in a better country right now
Yes.
to get through this, to be quite honest. And I'm in the countryside, as you can see.
Yes.
And that did help. It really did help, because I wasn't in a little apartment somewhere where I was stuck and I had no garden. So at one point, we actually just did laps of the house,
Right.
because we couldn't go anywhere else. But yeah, I think I'm very blessed, very blessed. So.
And are you able to actually go outside now and sort of go? Is it starting to get back to normal now, or are you still in a sort of like a lockdown period, or?
Well, it's funny because in tonight it's actually Dublin. The numbers have gone and risen again in this country.
Oh no.
Yeah, so there's a lockdown in process for Dublin, particularly because it's got the highest percentage per country or county in Ireland. So we had a lot more flexibility, and obviously a lot of my work now, because I have a press and media identity, I was able and fortunate to travel for certain news items or whatever, but and it was a lot more flexible, and we have been getting back to a relative normal. But
Yes.
obviously there's gloves and there's masks, and you have to be very aware. And now, because there was a certain element that just really did not listen, I think they went, oh, that's grand, it's over and done with, let's get out here and party.
Yes.
And because of that, the numbers have gone up, unfortunately. But it's Dublin at the moment, so I'm okay because I'm in Meath, which is the peripheries. But my work is in Dublin. Luckily, I have the press element and that, and I can go up for my job. But there's a lot of people in Dublin are not going to be happy. I feel very sorry for anybody who's going to be isolated again. As far as I know, you can't have more than 6 people in the house. That's one thing, and also people are not allowed to really travel unless it's work related and your frontline services as well.
Yes.
But it has to be done. It
Yes,
really
of
has
course.
to be done. We got to knuckle down and take this very seriously.
Yes, absolutely. And just going off topic a little bit, are you close to Enniskillen? Is it Enniskillen?
Enniskillen? No, I'm not actually. I'm far enough away not to have to.
Oh, right.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just my last name is Maguire, so we have some family history. Back the first Maguires come from Ireland, so Enniskillen, so they come out to Australia. So yeah, that's my little connection to Ireland and the Irish people.
Oh,
So
brilliant!
yeah.
Well, you know what? When I say we're not that far, on a scale of planets, okay, we're literally down the road, because Ireland's not that big. So in Australian terms, we're down the road.
Yeah, that's right.
2-hour drive or whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, it is close. Everything's in Ireland seems like it's a miles away, but considering we're not Australia or anywhere that big, it's you are a neighbour of mine officially.
That's true. And speaking of that, have you been to Australia yet?
No, but I have relatives over there.
Oh, right.
Yeah, in Sydney, and some have moved around Canberra, that kind of stuff as well. And actually, I got a submission from Canberra for a poem on my show for Wednesday this week. Which, yeah, I think her name was Krishna, and she submitted a poem, and I played it and aired it because my reach from the radio show was just expanded, and I was so delighted. And I had always said, if they have teleportation, I would happily go to Australia. I just don't know about the flight. I want it quicker. I don't like being confined for too long, as you can tell. In my world, I'm constantly moving. So I'm not sure. Maybe somebody would have to put me up front and sedate me for about. How long does it take? 12 hours or something?
Oh, it's a long flight, because you can't just go, straight, one straight line. I think you got to go stop over in one of the Asian countries and then sort of head down here. So it's a flight.
To be fair, we have adopted, because of COVID, the Australian model for barbecues and for partying and sort of keeping the entertainment sector at the house. So there's more of a pod element to socializing now. So we've had what you guys have been doing for years.
Yes.
We're now bringing into Ireland. So instead of all the little quaint pubs and restaurants, what's happened, because there's a place in Ireland, like they call them wet pubs, which are pubs that only serve drink, right? And then the pubs that have only been allowed to stay open are those that serve food and drink. Okay, so there's a decline, unfortunately. Now, a lot of these wet pubs are never going to open again because they haven't been able to survive, because they've had no clients in at all.
Yes.
And also, a lot of people now have adopted the Australian model of barbecues and beers.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the Vintners Association won't be happy with that, because it's all lit pubs, nobody's drinking. So the off licenses and anybody that delivers beer and delivers wine are doing really, really well.
Yes,
so it's an upside, you know?
Absolutely. So Marian, let's go back. Let's do a little trip back in time, and so can you tell us whereabouts you grew up in Ireland? You grew up in Ireland, right? You're born in Ireland. Yes.
I was actually born beside Trim Castle, so I was reared in the ruins of the castle grounds where Braveheart the movie was shot. Yeah.
And then the Australian connection again there with Mel Gibson being
there you go. And I didn't actually appear in that movie or anything, but I was certainly, when I was a child, the place was a lot more dilapidated before that was kind of reconstructed and whatever. But it was such a wonderful free village environment, very small. And my dad played for a GAA team here, so he would have been one of the sports stars of the time for the Meath team. So he was a GAA player, and so in the day, that was one of the biggest. That was bigger than the Kardashians if you played GAA football in Ireland. You know what I mean? So that was who was talked about. You talked about your county team.
Yeah, of course.
I always had sports around me, and I always had a relatively holistic lifestyle. But in the corner, then Dad would take out the accordion box and play tunes on that as well. So there's always some element of music, because my name Shanley comes from Leitrim, and my actually grandfather used to make violins by hand. So music was always around me. And my mum was just superb because she reared 6 children, so that's already a gimme, you know. So I was very lucky. So living there, then we moved to Navan, and that's where I started composing from the age of 14. And I can remember my first ever performance, first TV debut was on when I was 17 on the National Broadcasting channel here, which was the RTE.
So this, sorry to cut you off there, Marian. This is piano?
Yes, piano.
Yes, piano.
So I show you? Hold on, you can see here. There's my.
Very nice.
So that's where I always have a piano around me, because you know something, it's probably one of the reasons I'm such an advocate of wellness and for mental health for especially teenagers in Ireland, is because when I was a child, my piano was my best friend.
Yes.
And you know, when you're going through your hormones and you're going through isolating, and it doesn't matter how many friends you have, you still feel like you're the only one, and you want to, you know, you want to fit in, but you want to be unique. There was always that dynamic, you know. So I composed very early, and a lot of it would be a form of just offloading. And I'm always supporting people to say, look, find something creative that you can offload. So that's where it all started. Is I actually lived with music. I breathed in music, and poetry was another part of that. And there was sports and a holistic lifestyle. And I won National Irish Composer, which was Mulla and Oga, in my native language, which is Irish, Oscail. And when I was about 19 and 20, and then we got involved. I convinced my parents to kind of get involved and help out with the music industry a little bit. So we worked with some artists, and I won't name them, but they've gone on and signed on to some major labels now.
That's fantastic.
Well, you know what it was? I have this belief system that anything is possible. You just need to have the passion, the conviction, and then take positive action. It's lovely to say I want, but I was, and I still am, I suppose, an advocate of doing it from the heart. Do it from the heart, and you can't go far wrong, but also protect your heart in the process. And that is something you learn as you get older too. Yes. And at that time, I studied and trained in a college in Ireland called Ballyfermot. And probably a lot of your listeners are going to say, oh,
where?
Yeah, in Dublin. And it was just, I studied as an engineer, and I was one of the first ever real female engineers out there. So I used to rock into gigs and set up gear, and people thought I was the groupie or the girlfriend, you know.
So what was your decision to study engineering?
I always thought, well, funny enough, I got offered Bolton Street for architecture on my portfolio alone because I'm
Right.
an artist by heart, right? And in the day I went to school, it was just horrendous because we had a teacher and you didn't get a choice, and she taught us maths. And it's funny how life, and this is really important for anybody who didn't do well in school, is I got really, really well in every subject, and then I failed maths because of that one subject. I ended up losing a spot as an architect, which was the best thing that ever happened, let's be honest.
Yes.
And I then made a decision, okay, there's a course up here. They're going to take me on the back of who I am and open the doors to be. And it was a filter into education as well. So it was easier to get in the day into this course. But now, obviously, it's a different story. But because it was a new concept in Ireland to have anything arty, or because you normally had to come from a family who was, you know, educated in that, or you would have trained with them, you know, and gone to gigs and whatever. So this is a really new concept to have, whereas now it's everywhere you can go, you can learn music, art, and whatever. And it wasn't that long ago, which is the weird thing about it. And I ended up there because I was actually looking in my heart, but my brain was telling me the other. So my brain got told by life, okay, you're not getting that. Here's where your heart really needs to go. And then that was the door open for me. But you have to remember as well that to get a job in the industry that's really paid in Ireland to do that kind of work was quite rare too, unless you were at a very, very high level.
Yeah.
And that's something now that has affected the industry right now, is that it was tough enough for a lot of artists creatively to make money, but with COVID, oh my God, it's devastating for a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, shut it whole down. It shut the whole music industry down. And I've talked to many musicians now on the podcast and talking about what their plan Bs are, and some of them are doing drive-ins, some of them are doing online, some of them are just trying to just trying to think outside the box, and but that's the thing that I always ask the question is, like, why weren't we doing this before? We've got the technology to do this, so why aren't we doing the online sort of doing drive-ins and all this? But anyway, but yeah, it's very, very interesting. And also talking about being a musician and growing up, I also agree with you that my instrument was guitar. I remember coming home if I had a bad day at work or something, or I just felt down, I'd just pick up my guitar and start playing, and just everything just washes away. You know what I mean? So I have a very similar sort of way with your piano and how you sort of and I'm assuming that happens now, right, with your piano?
I've been working on a lot of separate projects to help other people over the years, and I kind of redirected my energy into helping people. And then since COVID, it's actually helped me to say, well, actually, I can't help you really right now. And then I went inside, oh, but I can create. And that's what's been happening, is that I've been involved in that. And then recently, just with the work that I've been doing, I've been able to get access to people who normally you wouldn't have access to, like the likes of Gloria Estefan.
Yes, I was going to ask about that. What was that experience like, having a chat with her?
It was quite profound. It really was, because when you're growing up and you're listening to music, and in the industry as well, especially if it's a woman that stands out and you actually like her music, it was really nice, because I've gotten to a point where I'm so pleased that I actually stayed true to me, that I'm not fearful of anyone else, and I treat everybody exactly the same. And she's exactly the kind of woman you want to say, oh, look, she's a good representation of somebody in the industry.
Yes.
She's funny, she's witty, she's clever, she has a life, she loves her family.
She's beautiful.
She is beautiful. Yeah, my God, you should hear the glow. And that's the other thing as well, is that there's this glow from people when they are just 100% happy in themselves. And also, you know that she is a success, not just because of her music and her talent, but also as a human being. You could see that, how could you not like her?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
her music now, she's got it brought out Brazil 305, and it kind of has strains of the original Rio album that she had out. But what's happened is that she's brought her Congo to a samba level, and she's really discovered her roots again. And there's a lot of exciting new stuff out there as well. So I was just delighted, to be quite honest. Now, we had mental trouble with the Zoom. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a disaster, savaged the podcast. So,
Yes.
but it was such a pleasure, and I know her time was so precious. It was really, really good to get her on Zoom, and it just is profound, because once you start doing stuff like that and engaging with people, it is really good for your confidence to realize that energy is really all that matters. Like,
Yes.
the energy that you transmit from yourself and that you absorb from somebody positive is really what keeps us all going on this planet right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of which, in terms of creating music, I do believe that you have finished a project, or you're in between a project, and creating like awareness for mental health. It's what is it? Never Give Up, the song.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, I was a national speaker for a charity here a few years ago. Before I got my show, it was actually the reason I went and got a radio show. And
Right.
in 1 year, I reached out and I spoke to 22,000 teenagers
Wow.
about suicide awareness. Yeah, I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning driving these roads, getting in there back-to-back classes, because it was so important. There was nowhere for these teens to put their voice. But also, I believe that, we have a mission, we have a drive, and that's what drives me in the industry, is that if I can impact on one person and let them feel hope, that there's better, and that somebody cares. And one of the first things I did do, and I'm sure I broke a few rules by doing this, but not in the wrong way, you know what I mean? I had
Yes.
compassion. I said, guys, maybe nobody's ever said this to you before in your life, but I do care, and you do matter. And I've seen teenagers' eyes well up within 3 seconds, because they suddenly realized, what, it doesn't have to be your blood. It doesn't have to be those nearest to you that can tell you who you are, that it all starts in yourself. So anyway, I achieved that, but I wasn't happy that 22,000 1 year, it wasn't enough for me. So I set up a radio show called The Power of Dreams.
Yes.
In Dublin South FM, and I was very blessed to be able to do that on my own terms. It's community radio, but I mean, I don't get paid for it. It's completely voluntary. I produce it, research it, everything on it. But I know that for that 1 hour, I quite possibly might be saving someone's life, because I might make them laugh.
Absolutely.
I might cheer them up. I could give them something that will make a difference. And then I realized, hold on, I want to step it up a gear, because I did a charity single before with Teen Line, and I wanted to go again, but this time with one of my own songs. So I have a song called Breathe. I'm going to give you a world exclusive on that one. That's the name of the title of what's going to happen. This is where the song is going to go. And it really is just about bringing people together. COVID kind of put a halt to that process, but I'm negotiating things now online, which is a whole new difference.
Yes.
You can make albums, you could do anything online. Right now, the main thing is to prioritize the words. I'm at the tail end of finishing that off, but I've also people volunteering, and there's such an amazing amount of beautiful people globally, not just in Ireland, who are affected by suicide, affected by the threat of suicide, living with people who are just on the cusp. But in the background, I've actually been working personally with artists and children of people I know, just to reinforce and help them quietly as well. And I do think we're all doing that as well, as we're reconnecting with people that we might never have spoken to for ages.
Yes.
And suddenly realizing, you know what, we're not powerless. I don't have to drive 50 kilometers to help somebody. Just pick up the phone.
Yes,
Talk.
absolutely.
Talking can do it, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've talked about this, actually, the last podcast that I did, we talked about that, mental health awareness, and especially for musicians. I mean, that they sort of sing about it in their songs, and you see them on the TV. But the question was, how are we supporting the musicians?
Yeah, well, that's why I kept going with the show, you see.
Right.
I've been working remotely every single week. It wasn't just for me to say, oh, I'm still doing the show. I've been reaching out to as many artists, as many poets, as many people that are creative. And I've been saying, send me what you're doing. Send me what you've created. Keep in contact with me. I will give you airplay. I will give you a platform. You might be able to go out there and you might be able to get on stage and perform to an audience. But if I can make a difference, and I genuinely mean this, if I know that they're listening to their song being aired on my show, or I mention them, that adrenaline, that fix, that endorphin, that serotonin, whatever is released because we are performers and creatives, can save a life.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Can make a difference. I've spoken to artists quietly in the background personally, and I've watched and seen how they've dipped emotionally. And I'll reach out to them and I won't say, hey, are you okay? I'm worried about your mental health. Do you want to talk about it? I send them a message and say, I see what you're doing. I love your music. Can you send me a song on my show? So I'm not being very obvious about it. But what I'm saying is I want to give people hope. Because if we can all reach out and just say, look, this is how I can do it. It doesn't have to be a very glamorous way. It could be sticking on the kettle. But I'm very lucky that I have this platform. And as a result of it, the Lord Mayor of Dublin awarded me a COVID Hero Award. I one morning. I was like, oh my God.
I did see this. So the Lord Mayor of your city or county
of
Dublin.
Yeah. So
that is an amazing achievement. So and you've won other awards as well. Like I've got a couple of awards here that you've won. Humanitarian Award as well. And I also saw that, and tell me if it's true or not, you got to hug the Dalai Lama.
I did. And the Dalai Lama got to hug me.
Oh, he got to hug you. All right. So how did this all come about? I mean, it's not every day you get to hug the Dalai Lama.
No, it isn't. And this probably goes down to the reason why I call my show and I call my business, I call my journey. And my new company is called The Power of Dreams, which I'm launching next week. Because I've always been of the philosophy that you can attract, you can believe, way before we were using words like manifestation or attraction or the secret or whatever. I know that sometimes it gets downgraded as an adult, but if you honestly want something in life and you trust, you can achieve it. And I can remember getting offered a press sort of a get together in Dublin because there was a charity called Children in Crossfire, which was set up by Richard Moore, who, when he was 10 years old in the Troubles in Northern Ireland, he was walking home from school and there was a supposed bullet that was not dangerous that they used to fire, and this rubber bullet hit this 10-year-old boy and blinded him completely. And this was Richard Moore's journey. And as an adult, he set up a charity called Children in Crossfire for obvious reasons. Then the Dalai Lama became one of the directors. And it just so happened I was working with a very small but amazing TV company here called Cabin TV. And we somehow managed to get an invitation to this through connection with this charity. And I ended up going up to Derry with a chap called Brian Daly, who's the owner of the company. And it was just me and him, no big flashy crew. We didn't even have our name on the microphone. And all of a sudden, there was all major TV stations lining up in this little room, very quietly put to the side. And I spotted a place right at the front of this crew of all the cameras and everything. I said, come on, we're going up here. Let's go up here. And we pulled up, rocked up. RT was standing beside me, BBC, ITV, everybody was there. And they're big guns. Now, you have to say that I'm only this young one, and we're like just doing this because we're community TV and the first ever web TV, actually, Irish web TV in the country. And next, Richard Moore came out, and there was a mediator there, moderator, who was controlling the press and saying, okay, we've Richard Moore coming out. And then Richard Moore came out, and the moderator said, any questions for Richard Moore? Now, given that Richard Moore is blind, now you have to remember this, He was sitting there, and I'd met him before. So I stuck my hand up because I was absolutely nearly embarrassed, because most of the people around me were not asking questions because they were waiting for the Dalai Lama.
Right.
And I put my hand up. So I gave him a nice question, and it started the run of questions. So I got a thumbs up from the moderator. So I knew it was in. It was good.
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing that happened was this little man tippy-toed out, which was the Dalai Lama. And he went like this. He went to the press. In other words, don't say a word. And he snuck up on this blind man, Richard Moore, who was the head of the Children in Crossfire. Yeah. And he went, ha! And he put his hand on his shoulder and frightened him. Right? So that was our introduction to the Dalai Lama.
Wow.
A ticket. And everybody started cracking up laughing. So he spent the rest of the interview sitting beside Richard Moore, holding his hand.
Wow.
Like brothers. Gently holding his hand. And these are the things that the press didn't report. And I nearly cried. I was so delighted. And I just knew in my heart, the night before, I had a dream. I hugged the Dalai Lama. I have to just mention this.
Wow.
Right? So I went there knowing it was going to happen. I had no doubt in my mind. But I thought, right, I'm just going to sit back, see what happens. Next, the RTE beside me got to ask this question. And all of a sudden, all the hands went up in the room because everybody was competing for this question.
Yes.
And the moderator went, Marian Shanley.
Oh.
Okay. So I said my piece, and it's you can see the YouTube one. It's Marian Shanley hugs the Dalai Lama or whatever they've written up there. But my point is, he was so funny because he actually said to me, now, no kissy. You know, the Dalai Lama telling me not to kiss it.
That's awesome. What a cool guy.
He's very cool. But that's what you find out about life is that, you know, we all have this perception, and they're actually great crack. They're great fun. And it was amazing. But that's what I'm wanted to share with people, is that we can change things around us by simply believing and trusting. And sometimes when we're in the depths of the darkest points in our life, we do have a little bit of a choice within ourselves to go, okay, do I have a choice? If we ask that single question, if we ask ourselves, what can I do that's different from what I'm doing right now? Because I do think that our world can be amazing, and even the exchange of energy, it was just so powerful. Like, to be around somebody like that, it's amazing. And I had this thing about 11 minutes past 11, and you'll have people listening in who'll go, oh my God, I see the clock at 11 minutes past 11, right?
Yes.
And I went to a show, and there was this spoon bender over here called Uri Geller.
Yes.
And he was doing this show, and everybody knows from when he used to do this on TV. And I met him at exactly 11 minutes past 11. But during his show, he started saying, now, does anybody see 11 minutes past 11? So there's all these little things in life that you go, wow, am I the only person like this happens to? But I bet you're going to see different things now. You'll go, hold on, that's strange. And sometimes I'm having a conversation, and I'll say a line of words, and the TV will be on or the radio's on, and they say exactly the same sentence as me at exactly the same time. And it's not that I'm super hyper focused. It's just that I think that there's lovely little connections in life that we all should just kind of pick up and go, oh, that's a bit of reassurance that, you know, maybe there's more to all of this, you know?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. What an amazing story. That's so great, you know, and you'll remember that for the rest of your life. And speaking of inspiring stories, we have a mutual friend we're talking about earlier, Jade O'Neill, also from Ireland. So I was just blown away by her story. You know, we had a really good chat a couple of months ago, and you talked to her as well, right?
I do. She's so amazing. I was saying, when I go on Facebook, I can catch up on 6 months of everybody's lives really, really quickly. And Jade has inspired me in so many levels, because she wasn't somebody who made an excuse. And this is what I love, is that we all have things that happen, but some people live in their stories and they are stuck. And I absolutely love that she made a decision about her own life, and she changed it. And she ended up doing something that we, as human beings, starting from a perfection point, couldn't achieve, because she went and changed her body, her life, and ended up in Dubai, and she's so amazing. And then a bikini competition award winner representing Ireland when she came from a place where she was like a size 20 or something.
Yes.
But you know what's more amazing for me is not just the physical transformation. That's possible for everybody, because I always look at our bodies as a lump of Play-Doh anyway. It's like so that's, but it's also the fact that she managed to be consistent, and she's still doing it. Because we all peak and we trough, and that's why I don't go on too much about things that have happened in the past. I'm very much focused on what next. But I've learned one thing is as well, that when you have wonderful people surrounding you, it does make a massive difference to your own energy. And Jade is one of those. Even though we haven't even physically seen each other, we send each other love hearts and well done, girl, and how are you? And I do think you need it. And
picks you up, doesn't it?
It does. And it's amazing, because you go away thinking, wow, you know what? I'm not the only one. It's really important. I heard somebody say, you are half of the nearest 5 people in your life and their energy. So if you added the energy of the 5 closest people in your life right now, and then you half it, that's who you are. And that explains why your life is the way it is on a lot of levels. So I've kind of culled a few people and added a few people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. Oh, it's funny how life goes on, and you sort of work out who are your close friends, and especially in this time as well, you find out who your real close friends are, and who are the ones that are, maybe not as close as you thought it was. So this is a good time now to sort of realize that period, don't you think?
It is. And also the most important thing is that even in the midst of the friendships, it is really about the lessons you learn. Because that's what life is about. Because nobody's perfect, and you won't see them as anything other than perfect until you grow.
An interview online that even in this time that you have developed a very, very simple sort of theme, a sort of motto of just going out and going for a walk. Now, I totally agree with this. I think that just getting out and walking for 20 minutes is a great job. But you've actually, it said that you lost 8 pounds in this period, which is great.
Yeah, I have. I'm so blessed as well that I have this. Obviously, I'm in the countryside, so it's easy for me to do. But it started off with lapse of the house, to be quite honest. And then once something is taken away from you, you really want it back. And when we were isolated and we couldn't go somewhere, I wanted it more.
Yes.
And then the minute the boundaries were open up to 2K and then 5K, I was like, okay, I'm taking that. And I think that was in a reverse psychological way. It inspired me to just start walking. But there was also another reason. About a year ago, and then 2 years prior to that, I took a really bad fall 2 times in 3 years. So I was coming back, even though I'm a coach for the under-12 GA team here in Ireland. For one of the local clubs, I volunteer doing that as well. I was able to coach them, but I wasn't able to run separately. So I started saying, you know what? COVID has made me readdress the fact that I'm investing a lot outside of myself. And I can walk. And once I started walking, I suddenly found that it was a lot more than just walking. I stopped and I was looking at the wild garlic, and I was looking at the dandelions, and I was looking at the birds, and I was listening. And it was so therapeutic. And it wasn't the distance anymore. It was the fact that I was making time for myself. And I think that's really what's happened for us all is we've had to make time. We've had to face ourselves. Like, I just realized what a twit I was before as well when I got so much running around. I was like, what are you doing this for? Who are you doing this for? So, the benefit was the weight loss, but that was an emotional loss, because my philosophy on weight is, and you'll get people saying, oh, hold on. But I believe that all the times we say yes when we should say no to people, that's when we start to put weight on our body, because I do think there's an emotional link. I do think that if we don't prioritize ourselves, it can affect how we look at our food, our lifestyle. And the biggest thing is exhaustion. I think that given a choice of coming in tired, long day, putting your feet up on the couch, your shoes are off, and you're going, well, I go out the door. It's very hard. Very hard. Can I tell you a trick I did? Okay, just so you
certainly.
Know, when I got in the door, I always put the runners at the front door or the back door, right? So if
Yes.
I know I'm coming in the back door, the runners are there, and that's it. I have to put them on before I go into the runners go on. The runners go on no matter what. It's a psychological prompt as well. And I've been drinking more water. And the big trick with water for me is I put it into a wine glass, even though I don't drink much.
Come on, there's surely got to be a little bit of wine there. Come on.
Yeah, no, I never was really a big drinker, but I've decided as of COVID, I'm going to start drinking more. That sounds mad. I realized, man, you really need to let your hair down more. You've got to. So,
Yeah.
all the good sides, yeah, all the upsides.
And speaking of that, like going for walks, a part of your podcast or your radio show, you have this thing, and I want you to talk about it more. Chill on the hill.
Yes.
Tell us about.
I know that artists and creatives don't have a platform anymore to perform, and there's a big restriction on numbers and also live performances. But there are historical sites and there are beautiful places all around Ireland. And this is a particularly impressive site that's down the road from me that I was already doing Kundalini Yoga on a Sunday morning. And I called it Chill on the Hill. And I'd invite some friends and say, come and meet me, because it's really important that you connect your spinal energy. And I do think you have to have right and left brain being a creative, because if you forget one side, you're just going to go off on tangent. So and I've learned that over the years. So I've been doing this yoga for like half hour max. And now trust me, when I say yoga, we're not talking Olympic standard lycra people. We're talking rocking up in your jumper and your pajama bottoms if you have to, sitting down and literally just going with the flow, right? And that's what it's all about. But then
you have a sorry there, Marian. Do you have? It's called I saw it. Kundalini. Kundalini. There you go. Yes. So what is this? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Okay, it's really about connecting your energy and your life force and making sure that flows in your body. Basic line, without getting too complicated.
Yes.
And because I do think that is what life is about. Is if your spinal cord is healthy, obviously your brain gets fed, your body gets fed, your life gets fed. And I think that if you focus your energy on your DNA and cell changes, I believe we all have a metabolic trigger in us. I am a scientist. I have a science degree, so I'm also studying people. And one of the things for me is that I know that if you do something very simple with unblocking all the negative energies in your spinal cord, without getting all hippy dippy and airy fairy here. Okay, very simple. Your spine is the key. And Kundalini, you can Google Kundalini Yoga there, and you can go. And I suggest anybody who wants to try it, don't do over 3 minutes. Do very simple. There's a spinal flex that I think the whole world should be doing. I often say to people, it's like riding a horse, right? It is, you sit on a mat and you just simply rock your spine. And I also am of the belief that if you sit with people who have positive energy, you pick up on that energy. So you don't even have to do yoga to benefit from yoga. And I look at things like the split theory. And for anybody who knows about that, is if on observation you observe this atom traveling, it will actually split into two. But if it's not observed, it will simply stay as one. So and intention and observation can change the energy of anything in life. Absolutely anything. So that's why I said chill on the hill, see if I can't help people with their energy, their mental health. And then what I did is I brought some artists, and we get up at sunrise every month. Once a month we get up at sunrise. During the day at 11 o'clock, it's normal on a Sunday. But I live streamed over to Davo Grin, which is Christy Moore's nephew in France. And he did some Baron and some poetry. And then I got the O'Neill sisters, and they came up from Kerry all the way to the Hill of Tara, and they sang a song in 3-part harmony. And you know what? I do it every month now. So I reached out. This is the weird thing. I've had people posting all over Facebook saying, oh, I've nowhere to perform. I've nowhere to go. I've nothing to do. And I reached out on my page, and I did not get one person saying they would get up for sunrise. I don't know why. Lads, if it was noon or 2 o'clock in the day, they'd be up. You know what I mean? But it's so bloody Irish. You know what I mean? Oh, Davo Gwyn, I will say. I have to say, Davo Gwyn got up in France, and he's amazing. You should check him out online. He's another inspirational guy, you know.
Yeah, very cool. Now, you were saying before that you're like a medical herbalist as well, so you have all these degrees. So, what are some of the tips for people in this sort of pandemic time, like for eating, sort of staying safe, staying healthy? Give us some tips on what we can do this time.
Well, I can certainly say try not to catch it first. That's go with the stuff.
Yes.
Do stuff like sterilize and mask and whatever else as well. But if, say, for example, you want to build, the biggest thing wasn't just getting it, it was the fear of getting it and the fear when you did get it. So fear is the biggest thing we have to combat right now. So what I'll say is that, again, I'm going to say your immune system is one of the key elements that you have to look at. Everybody thinks it has to do with your blood when you say the immune system, but it is your bowel, believe it or not, that has about 90% of the immunity of your body that you need to sort out. So if you're eating rubbish and you're eating crap for the pandemic and you're like sitting there going, oh, I don't want to get this, I don't want to get sick, and you're already on the brink of getting sick anyway, I would say to people, just build the immune system by doing something simple, like starting to live a healthier lifestyle. Yes. And it's a good thing to do anyway. Look at the rates of cardiovascular problems and heart disease and strokes. Yes. And like our world has become a big fat world of internal fat and external fat. And I would say, if you're at a point where your health isn't good anyway, maybe this is just like the universe, or it's something more saying to you, this is a chance for you to address your health. So there are lots of things you can do. Cut back in your carbs, I'd say 100%. That's one of the biggest killers, and your fats. And start walking. And yes. Even if it's what I did at the start with the children, just for their mental health, because they were just losing the plot inside as well. We walked in circles, and I mean, we made it a game. We said, if we get to 10 here, everybody has to do a headstand or do jumping jacks or whatever, or sing a song or do a dance, or I said dance twice, but obviously I love dancing. So I had them jumping around, jumping jacks, and you name it. The next thing is, if you get the exercise going, it releases serotonin, endorphins, all the happy chemicals. Pick up the phone and ring your friends, and maybe somebody you're saying you haven't spoken to for years, and you're like, oh no, I shouldn't. Do it. Talk to people. Stop use this as an excuse and saying, look, I wanted to reach out to you to see how you are. Yes. It's always a lovely thing. And don't presume everybody's happy, because if you're not happy, imagine what they're like as well. The other thing is as well, you can take internally in regards to herbs. There are key herbs I'm going to say right now. There's one called Plantago lanceolata, and it's plantain. It is one of the top respiratory herbs on that planet. And if you get it in tincture form, and if you take it, it actually takes the gunk out of your lungs. I have treated thousands of people for their respiratory system, including asthmatics and people with emphysema as well. So there are ways forward with this. And I will say to you, if you could stick with something very simple like that one thing and get that into your body, you're going to be amazed. And also there's a thyme, for stuffing for Christmas turkey, you have sage and thyme. The thyme herb itself is one of the best immune boosters, and it will fight off any respiratory condition. And then the other thing is, can I just say this? It's really, really important, is please laugh more.
Yeah.
Find things that make you laugh. Get yourself out of your head and actually find something funny. Like old Marx Brothers movies. Like I go back to all the old stuff, like comedians that just make you cry. Yes. And remember who you are, because bring yourself back and revisit some of the old movies as well, like Jungle Book, Disney movies.
Yes.
Cry more, laugh more.
Yeah.
The immune system isn't just about what you put in, it's also about how you get stuff out.
Yes.
And I do think we have to just love ourselves.
Yes.
If you start being nice to yourself, you know what, that then reflects on your immune system as well. And the biggest one for now, I would say, is just absolutely reach into yourself and start minding yourself a little bit more. I think that's
Yeah.
very important. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely. I love that laughter one. I think laughter. What's the saying? Laughter is the best medicine.
it is. And
Yeah.
then somebody said to me once, Marian, if you can't laugh at yourself, just give me a call. I'll laugh at you.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you can't laugh at yourself, well then, and I think it's very Irish and Australian as well. Like we like to have a good laugh every once in a while.
Yeah.
Don't take it too serious. So I think that's a good trait that we have is,
We're missing that. We're missing
yeah.
the banter. That's the horrible thing about
Yes.
COVID. We handle with snots and whatever else, but not the interaction. We're all very. What's this whole thing? I hug the Dalai Lama. How ironic! I can't hug another person right now. I'm lucky I have 3 children. But we're very tactile humans. Like, what's the next generation of newborn babies going to realize that this is my existence? I can't touch people, or
Yeah.
I think that's going to stop totally. But yeah, we got to reach out. We got to make sure that we find our humor again, and we start realizing that that's okay. And
Yes.
as long as it's not extreme, that's the main thing.
Absolutely.
I'm not into pranking. Don't give me any pranking. That's it.
That's right. And speaking of that as well, like with your family as well, have your children sort of gone in a direction with where they want to go for the future, or are they just happy to just sort of, are they want to step in mum's shoes as well, or?
I think they're allergic to mom's career at the moment. It's funny. I've always been aware not to pressurize them, but I would love, of course, they're very talented. My eldest daughter, the other day, she's really a great, cool kid,
Right.
and she's at that stage where she's not being put under pressure, but she's very talented and she's a beautiful singer. And I can remember when she was about 7 or 8, she was writing songs, and
Wow.
she's caught up in the whole friendship stuff at the moment, and she's so talented as a makeup artist. It's phenomenal. But I'm not pressurizing her, but I do think that's somewhere she'd like to go. Harry wants to be a professional footballer and play for me here in Ireland, so that's all. He's obsessed with that or being a professional gamer, and that's not good.
Well, I did see that you got to meet the Irish football team when they played the World Cup as well. That was
well, you know what? My world is just surreal. I mean, it doesn't matter where I go or what I do. It's like, you have to remember, I grew up in a household where my dad was like a famous footballer, so everybody I met, it was normal. Like the Champion Cup, which is the All Ireland, is called the Sam Maguire. They actually call this cup the Sam Maguire.
Maguire.
Who's Irish knows this. It's a massive cup.
Wow.
Sam Maguire. It's actually got a name. Yeah. Yes.
I don't know, but that's my last name. So there you go.
There you go. See, you're famous already.
Ah.
And I can remember drinking. We have this thing called red lemonade in Ireland. I don't know if they made it over to Australia, but that was the big thing here when you were a kid. You were like, whoa. Coke wasn't even in. Red lemonade was the drink. So I can remember drinking from the cup. So for me to meet, I've met so many high level, like Tyson Fury was another one I interviewed as well along the way. And like, but the thing is, what I'm saying to you is that they're so down to earth. They're great crafts. Most of them have great sense of humor as well. I just want to mention that Harry is the second eldest, and he wants to be a footballer. But I give you a laugh about Erin. Erin is 10, and she absolutely wants to be a canine unit Garda or police force. You know, the canine unit police force?
Yes.
That's her. And then she already told me when she retires, she's going to have a bakery at 10.
That's so cute.
But I'll tell you the funny thing. My dad used to be a Garda, which is here. And then he studied when he was 42. He studied with 6 children and became a solicitor and changed their lives. So that's what I'm trying to say is you can do anything. You just have to think it here, feel it here, and then do it.
That's right. Wow. I think we could talk for another couple of hours here, Marian. Like we haven't even touched about the sporting, and you know I'm right into my sports as well, so we could go down there for 30 minutes. Maybe we might have
spot with Marian Shanley.
Yeah, that's it. We'll have to do a part 2 and a part 3. So let's get close to wrapping it up here. So I know it's a vague question, but what does the future hold for Marian Shanley?
Right. So the future presently, I have set up a company which is the Power of Dreams, and also I'm just branding that because it is a philosophy I want to bring globally.
Yes.
I've started very small from small beginnings. It's risen to a point where now I'm also taking on the media of the Dublin Gazette newspaper here in Ireland as well, and that's a new thing. My biggest thing is that I also want to make sure that my little three children have a life where it's not exorbitant, but I can afford them, braces and
Yeah.
school books, and they're fed, and they can perhaps do a few music lessons, and that's a really big part of why I do what I'm doing. My mission is to change the mental health and the well-being of every single person that I meet along the way. Well, and it doesn't matter how big or how small, but I would like to get to a platform where there is a voice of hope, and I'd like to represent on so many levels. So I know, and I'll just give you a world exclusive as well, is that I've started a book, and
Wow.
yeah, I'm just in process of doing that, and I would like for things to progress onto a program, a TV program as well, to inspire and to give examples of those people who are already inspiring out there. So look, they're the short-term goals.
Now, where do you fit a breath in there? It seems like
Yeah.
you don't have any time to sleep or anything.
You know what it is? It's kind of if you don't feel like you're losing any energy when you do what you love.
That's true.
And also, I had a very sick little boy for 5 years of my life. Harry had kidney reflux from before he was born. And I can remember the stress of that. And I can remember the fear and having a child that was 103 for months and months and months, and all the things that come with that. And also the fact that he has some delay when it comes to learning as well. And nothing is impossible when your
Yes.
children are healthy and when you're
Yes.
healthy. So for me, I've actually cut back. I've pulled back from work because I made a decision. If I focus and I time manage, and I also believe and trust that what I'm doing is right, I can take these little people with me on this journey and love them and mind them and care for them. But I know one thing, that child has not been sick a day since he got treatment in
Wow.
Dublin. And I have to give credit to
That's
Crumlin,
amazing.
to the hospital in Dublin, and a particular doctor called Prem Puri. And can I just tell you one little thing to finish, okay?
Yeah.
I was so frightened about Harry being so ill, and we got this Padre Pio medal relic from a family member and brought it. And I'm very spiritual. And for me, I believe that, anything is possible and that we are protected and guided by our ancestors and so much more. But I can remember I had him in a hospital, a different hospital, and I had to make a brave decision and go against that hospital. And I ended up going to the hospital and getting assigned by accident the man who invented the procedure for kidney reflux, who was in from America and was now based in that hospital, and he fixed it in 2 goes.
Wow.
Like things happen in life, they're meant to happen. So I mean, the big picture is stay healthy, stay happy, and make sure my children are healthy and happy, and pay the bills along the way. That's it.
All right, Marian. So to finish off, can you tell us about your anything you want to promote, and your radio and your TV show, and your social medias?
Okay, great. So if you go on to Dublin South FM 93.9, it's online, so it's easy to find. And the show is called The Power of Dreams, so you can't miss it. And it's every Wednesday, repeated on a Friday. And thanks to exactly Skype and Zoom and all the rest of it, I'm able to do my show from home. And I'm hoping to get back live in a few weeks. So it's like, I'm so excited. Oh my God. Yeah, that's the first thing. TV stuff as well. Right now, we're on hold because I have some exciting news I can't announce this yet, coming out really soon. There will be a podcast up on the Dublin Gazette page, and It's getting released next week with the Minister for Sports, Culture, the Arts, the Gaeltacht, Catherine Martin. So watch out for that as well. And I'm on
Music?
social media platforms as well, so you can find me all over the place.
And your music as well?
The music, I am actually secretly working on stuff on Spotify, so track me down and look out.
Come on.
We're also putting the podcast up, so look out for the podcast, and
Right.
that'll be up on Spotify very soon. So I'm actually putting up some shows from before as well, because there's a demand for people who basically want to hear themselves again. And I also want to get people laughing and people just kind of going, oh yeah, hold on a second, this is going to switch my brain off for about an hour. You know?
That's good. I think some people need that sometimes, you know.
Yeah. Well, the best compliment I ever got was somebody sent me a message and say they spat their coffee all over their laptop.
Laughing. Oh dear.
Yes, I was like, yay! And then someone else sent me a message in saying that they work with patients who are in comas and that one of them woke up. I'm not sure about that one though.
Oh well, you never know. The power.
As long
You
as
know?
I didn't put one into a coma, I'm okay. So.
That's right. Well, you know, your Irish people have got a bigger reputation as like, hey, some big drinkers over there. So you like your Guinness, and you know, so.
I've discovered Bollinger, darling. One glass.
One glass.
Lightweight.
All right, Marian. So to finish off the show, I just asked some random questions, and you give me your top 2 or 3 responses off the top of your head. Are you ready?
Oh God, yeah, go.
All right, here we go. So, Marian, what is your top 3 musical artists?
Top 3 off the bat. Okay, I love Pink.
Come on.
And can I pick a band?
Sure.
All right, Radiohead.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, and then I have to say I'll go for Hauser, which is a celloist, classical. So because I'm trained classically, so I love cello, strings, anything like that as well. So there you go.
That's cool. All right, so tell me who are your top 2 or 3 actors or actresses?
Okay, actresses. Right, so Morgan Freeman.
Oh,
Love.
come on.
Okay. I would have to say the old Brat Pack. I'm looking at. I like some of the crooners there. So Frank Sinatra. I like that kind of stuff. You know.
Oh yes.
And can I just collectively say I love the Marx Brothers. Just them as a family.
Yes.
I like Dave the Racist. That's my go-to. It's like turn your brain off and go to those. And Harpo Marx, I should have put him in there as.
Oh yes, very nice.
Yeah, so there you go.
All right, and your top 3 all-time favorite movies. That might be a tough one.
Movies, easy peasy. Top on that one. Avatar.
Yes.
Okay, that Ben-Hur.
Right.
Yeah, and then the Jungle Book.
Oh, very cool. All right. And your top, what are your 3 favorite sports that you like to watch? Talked about that earlier.
Yes, favorite sports. Usually, I love watching soccer. I really enjoy watching Gaelic football, which is, of Ireland, Gaelic country. And funny enough, I really enjoy watching snooker. Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's another one where you can sort of switch your brain off a little bit. You don't have to think too hard about it.
Yeah, and you're also in your head going, well, if he bends this angle and hits it off that, and then it goes that, we're always better at snooker than anybody else. We're all like, oh yeah. Well, if you held the cue, and then when you go out to play it in real life, you realize the table is like 10 times bigger,
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of sporting, what are your top 2 sporting teams? I'm assuming they're Irish teams.
Okay, are we looking at Gaelic football?
Oh, it's up to you. It's up to you.
Okay, so Well, presently we have a team. The Dublin team are ranked top here in Ireland for Gaelic football. So I do think they are superb. I think for athleticism, 100% as well. And then when it comes to soccer, I don't think anybody jumps out at me at the moment in soccer, but I would say Liverpool is a really good team. Yeah. No, we're not going to fight. We can always say on the red somewhere. Okay, twice.
Yeah.
Manchester United is red, so I've won Man United in the house and won Liverpool in the house. So I'm always safe when I say go on the red.
Right, come on. And final one, who is your number one hero?
My number one hero. Seriously, I have to say Harry, my son, because he went through some very medieval procedures to get past what he had to experience as a child. And I am just profoundly in love with that child, and the same with my other two girls as well. But for what he had to overcome in his life, he is one of my heroes, and that has to be definitely. And you actually, that's a really good question. I have quite a few, but when you put me to the wire, I actually just thought, you know what, he's managed really, really well.
Yes, and he sounds like a very strong little boy.
Yes.
I've never met him, but he sounds like a very strong boy.
Thank you.
And I hope he continues to be healthy.
Well, we've a lovely little unit here. We're the most amazing daughters, and I have the most beautiful son, and I absolutely love them, and that's why I do what I do. And everyone will say that, I would hope, and no matter what the glam, the glitz, and the life that I have around, I wouldn't do that otherwise, unless firstly it was part of what I love doing, but also I know that this is going to make a difference, and I think that's all that matters, is being true to what we can do and make a difference, and that was always my priority. Firstly, start with my children, and then help the other children around the world if I can.
That's a great idea. Well, Marian, what a great talk that I've had with you today. It's been fantastic, true inspiration. Please keep helping other people, and keep continuing what you're doing. It's fantastic, very motivating, and hope you continue through this COVID and keep doing what you're doing, because it's truly inspiring.
Thank you so much. I'm flattered and humbled that you actually are speaking to me about these things, because I'm so used to being the other side of the microphone, and it's lovely. But I have to say, I did actually shift that dynamic pre-COVID and say, you know what, it's okay for me to share what I do with other people too, and that's good. So thank you so much for taking time to talk to me.
Making a difference. Thank you very much for your time.
The power of dreams.
Yes, and you're more than welcome to come on anytime.
Hey, no problem. Any subject you have that you just want to laugh about.
So